Hey, welcome to Life in the Leadership Lane. I'm your host, Bruce Waller, where I get to talk to leaders that are making a difference in the workplace and in our community. What did they do to get started and what are they doing to stay there? And we are in season 3. Can you believe it? We are in February. January is gone. February is here, and we're going to kick off February with a dynamic leader. Her name is Callie Miller. Callie is the Vice President of Client Services at High Profile. She is certified with her HR certification, with her PHR, as well as her SHRM-CP. She's also got a CSP in staffing as well. And she is our 2022 Dallas HR President. And I'm so excited to have you on the show. Hey, Callie, how you doing?
I am fabulous, Bruce. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here today.
You know, I always like to reflect whenever I start the show and I think back, like, when did I meet Callie Miller? And man, it has to be 10 years. When did you get involved in Dallas HR? Do you remember what year it was?
Oh gosh, yes. I remember getting involved around 2007-ish and then kind of taking a little hiatus and then coming back on the scene probably around 2010. So it's been well over 10 years. I've been around and about Dallas HR and serving and being plugged in, and certainly the year that you were president. So,
which was 2012, and it seems so long ago. I mean, I tell people all the time, I'm like, yeah, I was former president of Dallas HR, but whenever I say in 2012, I mean, are you kidding me? Man, it is 10 years ago this year. So congratulations. First of all, congratulations. I'm so excited to watch your journey as the incoming president for Dallas HR. We're going to get into talking about Dallas HR. We're also get into recruiting, talent acquisition. But before, as we kind of kick things off, I would love for you to share just a brief highlight. And by the way, we had somebody else on the show from High Profile, your CEO, Bronwyn Allen, in season 2, and she was absolutely incredible. Tell us a little bit about High Profile and how you serve your customers.
Absolutely. So High Profile is a Dallas-based staffing firm that specializes in placing administrative, accounting, finance, and human resource professionals on a contract to hire, and direct hire basis. So essentially, we're here to connect talent with opportunity, and we come to work to change lives. So we are all about identifying top talent here locally and then connecting them with amazing companies and best places to work here throughout the Metroplex.
Okay, when you say the words change lives, it gets my attention. I absolutely love. What do you, I'm just curious before we get into your story, like what is it that you love? I mean, I think is this the only job you've been in?
So I had some jobs early on, but I would say this is my first start at talent acquisition and recruiting. And I just kind of fell into it. And when I joined the company back in 2006, what you talk about reflecting 2012, I'm thinking, oh, so I just celebrated 15 years this past December with being at High Profile, and have had the incredible opportunity to start off as a recruiting coordinator and then work my way through recruiting across all of our divisions. So I've been able to experience recruitment with administrative, accounting, finance, human resources, and then transitioned onto our client services team back in 2012. And then it started that journey and really becoming more client facing and working to identify those opportunities for us to be able to present to candidates. But with that said, I mean, it is about changing lives. I mean, when you think about the amount of time that we each spend at work each day and within our careers, the amount of money and time we invest throughout college and through our certifications and the efforts that we make to get to where we want to be or where we would like to be, we spend a lot of time at work. And so you think about how life-changing it is to be in the right job and how life-taking and deflating it can be to be in the wrong job. So we really see it as part of our mission, and what we exist to do is to really come to work to change lives and to hopefully help people identify their next career opportunity, a place they can call home, a place that they can grow, learn, and excel, and then become the best person they can be.
I love that. Listen, I love that you love what you do. And I know you love what you do because I can feel the joy as you share that. Hey, I want to know, me and you have known each other for a long time, but I would love to dive a little bit deeper and just share the Callie Miller story. Like where did you grow up and how did you get into talent acquisition?
Absolutely. So I was born in the great state of Louisiana. Metairie, Louisiana is where I was born. And when I was around 5 years old, my dad received a job opportunity transfer to Houston, which moved us away from all of our family. My mom's one of six children, all born and raised in Picayune, Mississippi, a small town. And it was a big deal for us to move away. And I say us, I mean, worse than my parents, because I was a young child. And so we moved to Houston, and my dad's career, quickly took off. And he was then transferred again to Arlington, Texas, which brought us to the HEB area, which is really where, we grew up. In kind of thinking through and preparing for this about my career and what started it, I've been working since an early age. In fact, my dad loves telling the story about me being entrepreneurial at a young age, which I was. And for those of you who share the same love for the Babysitters Club back in the day, that was really popular when I was growing up. And so I really had it in my blood and in my mind that I wanted to start a babysitting business. And so my dad sat down with me and we talked through what that would look like and, how I could earn the trust of parents. Here I am, 11, 12 years old. And so why would someone want to leave their child with me? So I told my dad I would do the research and do the homework, and brought it back to him. And so talked to him and my mom. And so I signed up for the CPR Red Cross class and got CPR Red Cross certified. And I created my little flyers with a little peel off, you tear off your phone number. And my parents, they told me, hey, if you get this thing going, we'll get you your own phone line, which, hey, as a preteen teen, that's like a big deal, right? This is before iPhones and cell phones. And so I did. I was able to secure my own phone line and built a pretty good repeat customer base of individuals that I would babysit for in the neighborhood, and then ultimately went on to do some nannying and things throughout, junior high and high school. So I would say, in terms of getting started in the workplace and the workforce, it started at a young age and something that was kind of in my blood. And then landed my first job when I was 15. I was one of those weirdos that begged my parents to get a job and scoured every place that would hire at 15. So there were just a few options. Sonic and Spring Creek Barbecue, and started at Spring Creek Barbecue and did that whole deal, and then ended up working for a closed door pharmacy doing some office admin work, and then landed my first corporate job. And I was 19 years old, and actually there's some people at church. They knew me from my student leadership. I was really involved in our youth group and led a lot of student groups and served as a volunteer staff for our youth group. And so one of the couples there owned a company, and they had an office in the Crescent, and they reached out to me and said, hey, there's this admin role with this company that we're affiliated with, and we think you'd be a great fit. We'd love to send your resume. And I'm like, oh, okay, and really naive and green and innocent, but really excited. And so went for the interview, got the job. Here I'm 19 years old, reporting in downtown to the Crescent every day. And it was really an incredible opportunity. It was in the sports and entertainment management field. We had a lot of high profile clients and individuals that were celebrities, both local and, just talent coming in. And so it was really a neat experience. And in my mind at that time, and based on the way I was raised and my dad and my upbringing, I really kind of thought I was just going to retire there. I mean, that's how my mindset was. I was like, this is my career. This is it. And sadly, at 5:30 on a Friday afternoon, we were all laid off. We all lost our jobs and I'd worked there for about a year and a half, and I was just devastated, Bruce. I just was like, what am I going to do? And
life is over, right?
Yeah, it's like, this is over. My career is over. And Daddy Don, as we so affectionately called him, he was our CFO, really nice man, really just such a super guy, such a great influence on my life in terms of just his leadership and mentorship in terms of how he impacted me, because when I accepted that opportunity, I had been attending community college, and my parents had impressed upon my sister and me both the importance of having our degree and earning a degree. But we also were not a family where we had parents that saved for college or that we had applied for a bunch of scholarships. I mean, I did some scholarships, some financial aid, but was really paying for it on my own. So I was taking classes, but I wasn't making it the priority that I probably knew I should be or that I wanted to be. And so I thought, hey, I've got this new career at the Crescent. I'm going to focus on that and put school on the back burner. But the day we got laid off, Daddy Don, as I sat there in my puddle of tears, I said, what am I going to do? And he said, you know what you're going to do? He said, you're going to feel sad this weekend. This is very disappointing, but you know what? You are young, you're talented, you're going to do great things. But here's what I want to encourage you to do and promise me you'll do. please go get your degree. Please go get your education. Find
Mm.
out what it is you want to do and where you want to be and make it happen because you can do it. And it was there that in that conversation, in that moment, in that life lesson learning opportunity where I said, you know what, he's right. I've got like 2.5 years left. I need to like make this happen. I need to quit skirting around it. It is something that I want for me. It's something that I believe is important. It wasn't just something I was doing to check a box. It was important to me. And so I did. I took that opportunity. I was able to go back to my previous gig at the closed door pharmacy where I did office management and helped with the pharmacy components with the delivery piece of it. And I was able to go to school full time and earn my bachelor's degree. And so that's that.
Man, and it feels, I mean, the feeling, do you remember when you got that bachelor's degree, when it was taught you graduate, how good that made you
Yes,
feel?
it is the best feeling ever, coupled with you get the degree. And those of you who have earned your degree, no matter what level, you walk the stage or you accept it and you're so excited. And then I don't remember exactly how long, but it felt like a good 4 to 6 weeks after that, you're kind of that startled panic, maybe wake up in the morning like, oh my gosh, did I have a project? Did I miss an email? Am I supposed to be turning in something? But yes, it is definitely one of the best feelings in the world. Any sense of accomplishment like that, whether it's your certification,
Yeah.
a degree, completing a course where you're learning something. I mean, it makes you feel so good and accomplished and that achiever in me. It's just like such a driver. So
I love that. I love it. And me and you have known each other for a long, long time. And I did not know some of the things you shared there. And you know what? We can even network at church, can't we?
yes,
Networking is
we can.
important, right? Interesting what you talked about there and being laid off, just some of the experiences you went through. Did you ever like even dream that this was setting you up for the role you're playing today? Because you're helping people that are in transition many times, right? And
Yes.
and maybe they haven't been laid off, maybe they have, but you have that empathy because you've been through some of those things, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I would say too, even though that was early on in my career, and I've been so fortunate to be able to work at and high profile for the last 15 years and haven't had to experience that even through the Great Recession and even going through most recently with the COVID pandemic. I've been so fortunate to maintain my career and my job within high profile. I will say that feeling and that moment of how I felt it Friday at 5:30 in the afternoon being told I don't have a job anymore and I won't have a paycheck. And quite frankly, they weren't sure that we'd have final paychecks. It was a scary time,
Yeah.
and so it was a great learning opportunity and it was a great opportunity to experience and feel that because to your point, I do have that empathy and can totally empathize and sympathize with individuals at all stages of their career when they're going through those major transitions. And it can be very tough. So I think it is important when we have those experiences because it helps us to be better leaders, better friends, just better people all around.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, it sounds like you had a pretty good mentor with your CFO encouraging you to, I love that, just take this week, go ahead and be down and out. But after that, go get that degree. And incredible to have people around you. I always like to ask, were there some other mentors that have helped you along the way? And if they were, who were they? And maybe what did they do for you?
Yes. So, that is a loaded question. And I know you can agree with that, Bruce, because when I'm asked that question, and I get asked that often, like, who are your mentors? Who helped you who framed to where you're at today? Who influenced you? Gosh, the list is just endless. I mean,
Yeah.
it's kind of like you freeze a little bit because my brain starts
Yeah.
becoming flooded with images and names. And I start thinking, well, that person and this person, that professor and that book and that podcast, that person. And some of these individuals might have been just kind of chance encounters. It makes me think about two things that come to mind. That poem that the seasons, reasons, lifetime. People come into our lives for a season, for a reason, or a lifetime. Maybe it's just for a season of your life. You encounter someone and they're kind of in and out, and you don't really maintain any sort of relationship or connection, but they impact your life in such an intense and meaningful way. And then you have those people, they're in your life for a reason. And again, it just is specific to that moment, but hey, it made an impact. And then the lifetime folks, and those people that are your ongoing mentors, friends, family members, whoever they may be. And then I also think about a quote that floats around, that one that's that we are the sum total of our
Mm,
experiences. That one sticks out to me because I think, man, it's not just one person or 5 people or a specific situation. It's so many unique moments and experiences that have shaped and continue to shape the path that I'm on. And I'm so grateful for that. So, but to answer your question, because I want to answer the question, my dad, I'm very fortunate to have amazing parents. My mom and dad are both incredible people, both really just, I adore both of them. My dad really inspired me from the business frame of mind and really that the work ethic. And again, my mom had it too. I mean, my parents divorced when I was 11, almost 12 years old. My mom was a single mom. She worked multiple jobs, and she definitely instilled and demonstrated the work ethic and the drive. So it was there. My dad was in sales. My dad traveled. My dad would go on business trips. And my dad, my mom, during the time that they were married, she stayed home with us. And so my dad, I would go to work with my dad. He would take me in. And this, again, you have to keep in mind, this is back in the day. I mean, we didn't have iPhones. My dad had a pager, his beeper would go off. He had to go to a payphone and follow up with his clients. And so I spent a lot of time shadowing my dad and asking a lot of questions and trying to understand and uncover what it was that he was doing each day and what drove him and what inspired him. And so even today, as I fast forward to my 15 years at high profile and then previous career experiences, and now my dad's retired. He just celebrated his 75th birthday last year. He is still an integral part of my mentorship and my journey as a professional. And even though times have changed, and he jokes and says he could never work in today's society, and the Zoom, he can't get over working from home, the Zoom meetings, what we're doing now, even being on video, he's just like, this is crazy. But he did just instill so much of and really help to cultivate that curiosity that I had that really played a huge impact into where I'm at today. So I'm grateful for my dad. I mentioned Daddy Don and one of my first real bosses and the folks I worked with on that team. I mean, I was the young baby. I was like their little sister and kid sister, and all of those individuals impacted my life and encouraged me. But that conversation with Don that day was so impactful. And I did go on to get my degree. And then I just think about former pastors and leaders in my life, professors at Dallas Baptist University, which is where I ended up earning my bachelor's degree. Business coaches and mentors. I think about you, Bruce. I mean, we've spent many a time talking over coffee and brainstorming after Dallas HR functions and just collaborating together, both being service providers and on the sales side of things. You've impacted my life in very meaningful ways. And then Linda Gwines, I got to spend some time with her. She's one of my all-time favorite people. And I spent time with her and she did some coaching with me. And then I would be remiss to not mention one of the most incredible people who've impacted my life is my CEO, Bronwyn Allen, and who I work for and with today. She has impacted my life. I mean, just I can't even describe it. And then even before her and alongside her, our founder, Jock Stafford, I would not be where I'm at today without the impact and their belief in me and their willingness to, trust me and to invest in me, both professionally and financially by letting me get my certifications and pushing me to do these things, get involved in Dallas HR, always doing what they could and can to help me reach my true potential. So I'm so grateful.
I love that. I love that. I do a presentation on great leaders or grateful leaders, and you are certainly a grateful leader. First of all, I want to give a shout out to your dad. Happy 75th birthday. You're kidding me? That is fantastic. I love that. So appreciate that. And I know he's been a big influence on your life. And yeah, hey, if you're listening to the show right now, you need to get out your pen. You need to get out your notes. I wrote down this poem, Seasons, Reasons, and Lifetime. I have not heard of that. I love that. And then of course, a sum total of all of our experiences. You're like, that's a bullseye when it comes to our growth and the people we're surrounded by and what we learn many times, but just by watching people, right?
Yes.
Man, that is so good. Hey, well, let's jump in here. Let's talk leadership 2022. And I do want to get into a little bit of Dallas HR, but before we do that, I always like to ask the question, when it comes to leadership and someone says, hey, Callie, what is leadership? How do you typically respond to that?
Mm-hmm. That is a great question. And I think, going to DBU and growing on my leadership journey, even as a student leader in the youth group, which is, a large area of where this started for me in leading others and really learning and studying leadership even back then, are really thinking about, to me, the words that come to mind are influence, coaching, and empowering others.
Mm.
Leadership is service. Servant leadership was a big buzzword. It still is today. And people use that a lot. And I think sometimes it gets a big eye roll because it's like, yeah, servant leadership. But when I think about serving others and the people that I'm leading, we're all leaders. Everyone is a leader. We all have the opportunity to lead and influence others. It's a matter of how we approach that. That's my philosophy and thought process on that. I mean, I think it takes commitment. I think it does take dedication and drive to be a leader. But we all know anybody can be a leader, and anyone can be a tyrant or a dictator or direct things and sabotage. And it takes a lot more work and effort to get to know others, to coach, to hone in, to identify opportunities to, again, coach, counsel, and help people reach their true potential. And when I think about that question, I think about Zig Ziglar. And one of the quotes that he says that floats around there a lot is that, we can have everything we want if we'll just help other people get what they want. And not that leadership or that serving others is about getting what you want. I don't want that to be misconstrued, but I think it's important for us to remember, and a lot of companies we know, subscribe to this. If we put our employees first, they're going to treat our customers right, and then our customers are going to return. And to me, that's what leadership's about. When you treat your team right, when you value your people, when you meet them where they are, when you care about them, and you put the human, in HR, you put the human in leadership, and you recognize that we're all people showing up to work each day, but our careers and jobs are not the only thing we're all dealing with.
Right.
I think it makes a huge impact and difference. So that would be, my 2 cents on what leadership is. And then I can't help but mention Craig Groeschel. He's one of my all-time favorite people, and I think about him, and he always says leadership is influence. When we have influence, we have responsibility.
Yeah, Craig Groeschel, he's I think he's the founder of Life Church, right? He has a podcast. I'll put the notes in the show notes. I've listened to his podcast many times. He always talks about when the leader gets better, the people around him get better. And I like what he has to say. I love that. Hey, here's what I want to ask you. And that is, here you are, you're in a leadership position in your organization, great organization. Was it what you thought it'd be?
That's a loaded one. So yes and no. I mean, I think, too much is given, much is required. I think we have to, remind ourselves that leadership is responsibility, and it, there is a level there of that accountability, and there's a responsibility for those who take it seriously. You want to do it right, and you want to be a good leader. You want to be someone who can influence and inspire others, or at least in my opinion, that's the kind of leader we should all want to be. But that comes with challenges because, hey, let's face it, we're all human. All of us fall short. We all make mistakes. We all say and do things wrong, or wish we would have done or said it better. And I think it's that humility and being humble and being open to the feedback and the constructive criticism, so you can get better, so you can do better. Know better, do better. And so with that said, I always aspired towards leadership roles. I have always been one to raise my hand. I don't have to be the lead. I can totally follow and, submit to other authority and let other people drive. But I've always enjoyed leading others and leading processes and driving results and helping to, again, rally people and get them charged up and excited and call things out in them and say, you are so good at X, you need to connect with Y over here, and let's make this happen. And how can I help you get there? And that really brings me a lot of joy personally. So I knew it was something I wanted to do. I wasn't quite sure what it looked like or how I would get there. And I most certainly would have never thought in 2006, when I joined High Profile, that I would be in the role that I'm at today, doing the work that I'm doing specifically today. So yes and no. I think there have been some things that have been like, I knew I would want to be in leadership and do that. I just didn't know specifically what it would look like.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of work to it, but there's a lot of rewards as well. And of course you get a chance to influence the process. And that's one of the things that I've enjoyed. Hey, I want to ask you, you're in talent acquisition, recruiting, staffing. Tell me, what's the landscape like here in 2022? What's it been like for the last, I don't know, 12 to 18 months, and where's it headed? Any thoughts?
Yes, it's definitely an interesting time that we're all living in. I think everyone would agree with that. And it's still a kind of somewhat of a moving target. I think that on the surface, what we're all seeing in a lot of talent acquisition leaders and in staffing and recruiters are seeing and experiencing right now, it's a very tight market. It's a candidate market right now. It's very competitive. We're seeing, large increases in salary requirements and offers that are being made, lots of counter offers, lots of companies that I think were focused, and rightfully so, on being very reactive during the COVID pandemic in 2020 and having to kind of sort through and figure out, and whether every company is different. So whether they had to face furloughs and layoffs, or maybe they were just surviving and they were able to maintain their employee base, but maybe their focus couldn't be on, retention and, employee engagement, because they were just trying to make sure they could pay the bills and keep everyone employed. I think what we're seeing now is kind of that reactive state, because, folks were home for, 18 months. And they were stuck at home. And I think that's one of the pieces I think is a big takeaway for all of us. For those who were fortunate to work remote or from home prior to COVID, they experienced what that actually looked like. So you would work in your home office, and then you could go out and meet your friends for dinner or happy hour, or go to your workout class, or take your kids to their game, or whatever. But when COVID hit, as we all know, we were all trapped at home. So you were working, living, playing, doing everything at home. And for some of us, that meant a lot of time with our families, which for some people was great. And for others, it wasn't so great. And then for people who were single, they were lonely. And so we've seen and heard all of the implications of that. And not that that's the focus here today, but I think we're just seeing kind of the domino effect with the mental health issues that are out there, and the stress that people are facing. I think with companies, the impact to their talent acquisition teams and their strategies. I think those companies that were kind of falling short before the pandemic are really suffering now, because candidates they're not going to chase you down. They're not going to spend hours and days going through a 10-step interview process with you. They're just, times have changed, and those times were already changing, but it was a lot easier pre-COVID for companies to really drive that and that set that expectation. But I think now that we've all gone through what we went through, and that was the thing, it leveled the playing field, because all of us went through it, and everyone was impacted in different ways. But ultimately, we're all on lockdown. We were all home reflecting. And I think a lot of people made some tough choices, and they said, you know what, I don't want to do this job anymore. I don't want to work for this boss anymore. I don't like this industry. I don't like X, Y, and Z. And so they're going to go find what it is that they like and want to do, because they recognize and actually got to experience, the opportunity to say, you know what, I don't have to do this, or I don't want to do this. And so I think in terms of what we're seeing, again, it's just the tight market. It's a candidates market. Employers really need to pay attention, in my opinion, to their branding strategies and their follow-up and follow through with candidates. The communication is so critical. This whole idea of ghosting and not being responsive, inviting people in for interviews, courting them through 5 and 6 interviews, and then you just don't get feedback. I mean, these things that's not going to help employers be set up for success with their recruiting in the future. And then with candidates, I think the other piece too is, really recognizing that this is a unique market and it's a kind of uncharted territory, and recognizing that things will shift again. And so to make sure too, that as job seekers or as candidates and folks who are looking in the marketplace, to realize it won't always be this way. Compensation's gone up now, but things are going to level back out. So just to keep that in the back of your mind as you are searching for opportunities, it's not all about the money, to really look at the full picture.
Yeah. No, I love that. Those are some great tips for both the employer and the employee in this time. I mean, it is a very, very interesting time. Let me ask you this: as far as you and your team, like, what do you talk about each week? What are y'all focused on? I mean, especially when you're talking about these candidates, they don't want to stay, go through all these multiple interviews. I mean, they know where they're, that it's a candidate's market, right? Are you focused on, a lot of people talk about the customer experience, right? Are you focused on just that education process? What are y'all talking about right now in your company?
Great question. So for us, I mean, it's, as a staffing and recruitment partner to our clients, we are tasked, and our goal really with any client that we serve is to partner alongside of them and to be an extension of their HR and recruiting team. Okay. We really want to be able to represent them well as an employer, and to provide that level of service, and OLA, as we call it, one level above service, but to really be able to help them to attract, recruit and retain the best talent that's out there. And so on the other side of that is that we're also representing these candidates, these individuals that are entrusting us with their job search and that are partnering alongside of us and coming to us for our expertise and our connections within the local market. And so for us, it's really managing both of those relationships and really working through that and helping to help everyone navigate the components of that. And so for each client and candidate, that's going to look a little bit different depending on what they are seeking in an opportunity and what the client's, requirements and such are. But I think that internally, what we're talking about are ways to encourage our clients to, be cutting edge. What are other employers doing? So we've spent a lot of time at High Profile conducting surveys, even throughout the pandemic, and asking our clients what they're doing, what's working, what's not, and then sharing those results with other client companies. And on the flip side, doing the same with our candidates, kind of talking about the market, doing what we can to help educate both clients and candidates by providing webinars and opportunities for folks to learn and come together and share best practices and ideas. Another thing that we do as well, Bruce, and I know you can appreciate this, on the client services sales side of things, our team, client services, Kirsten, Madison, and I, all work very closely together. Our recruiters are very involved with our clients as well. But throughout our day-to-day and what we're doing by nature of our roles is we're talking to a lot of HR and recruiting leaders. We are interfacing, we're hearing the issues, we're hearing what's going on. And so, we're constantly connecting other leaders to other leaders. We're saying, hey, I know 3 people, would you be open to a conversation? And if they say yes, it's like, hey, let me introduce you to, Sally over here who happened, and I know Sally's open to talk about it. And then there can be some best practices and real-time sharing, because again, sometimes that's all people need is just to kind of hear like, we're not alone, or everyone else is struggling with that, to kind of help get you over that hump.
Yeah. No, I love that. Hey, I wrote this down. You just said OLAS. This is the first time I've really heard that. One level above service. What's that all about?
So that is one of our core values at High Profile.
Okay.
And we are committed to providing an OLA experience for our clients, candidates, and to one another internally. And it just means just that, one level above service, going above and beyond to ensure that the service that's being provided isn't just the run of the mill, that it's one level above. And so that could mean anything, it can mean a lot of different things, but whether that's acknowledging a birthday or special event, or maybe something, tragic that's happened, maybe it's something as simple as a client has back-to-back interviews with our candidates, and we know they're not going to have lunch break, so we just call it and have lunch delivered to them. These sorts of things that really, help them understand that we are here to partner with you. We want this. This isn't just about making a placement and making money and making a fee. This is about changing lives. This is someone's livelihood, and this is talent that's being added to your team. And so we wanted to get it right.
That is so fantastic. I love that. I wrote that down. OLAS. So all of our listeners, write that down. So good. Hey, let's talk 2022 Dallas HR President. Do you go into, did you go into the president this year of, hey, I've got this 100-day plan, and I'm gonna work this plan? Tell us, tell the listeners, as president, what does that feel like? And what are you going to do over the next, 30, 60, 90 days?
Yes. Okay. So I first and foremost am just so excited and honored to be serving as the 2022 president of Dallas HR. Interestingly enough, back in probably 2007, I had my review with Bronwyn. So again, I started in 2006, and she had, charged me with go get involved, go get plugged in. And I didn't know what that meant. And it was very intimidating to show up to one of these networking events, right? I mean, Dallas HR, for those who don't know, they are the 3rd largest SHRM affiliate chapter. We have over 2,000 members here in the Dallas area. And so it was a little intimidating to show up, especially as a young professional, and to get plugged in. But I did, and I'm so glad that I did. But with that being said, we are so excited about 2022. Dallas HR is such a phenomenal organization that has been around for, over 80 years. It's such an incredible group of folks. It's, it's volunteer led, but staff driven. We've got this incredible staff of people here to help us, execute all the ideas and all of the initiatives that we set out to do. And in addition, Dallas HR also powers the SHRM conference, the official Texas SHRM conference. So every year we have HR Southwest. That's a big deal for Dallas HR, and we're excited to be a part of that. And so this year is no different. We're excited to continue to exist to advance and connect the regional HR community. And as chapter president, I am leading 2022 with these 3 words in mind. And what I chose for this year were to reconnect, re-advance, and reimagine. And for those of you who are part of the Dallas HR organization, you'll know that we exist to advance and connect the regional HR community. I'd mentioned that earlier. And so when I thought about 2022 and I thought about the past 2 years and what we've all lived through, like everyone, Dallas HR is no exception. We learned a lot throughout the pandemic. This group went from meeting in person. All of the events were in person. We had education events and luncheons and happy hours and roundtables and all of these incredible in-person events. And all of that came to a screeching halt. And we were so fortunate to have such an amazing team of volunteer leaders and staff that quickly helped us transition and pivot and get online and start offering great educational content and value to our members and prospective members, just to keep people engaged and connected with one another. And so during this time, we also did a huge push on a member survey. So we pushed that out and we really went through a full strategic planning process, because we wanted to understand what it is that our members want, and especially taking into consideration the changing landscape and how people consume and want to consume their education and networking opportunities. And I would say, I think for all of us, I know I'll speak for myself. I value the opportunity to pop online and do things virtually, but I miss the in-person. And there's something that is missed when you cannot be in person and connect with others, and that synergy and those side conversations. Those are harder to capture in an online format or setting. So for 2022, we've got incredible events planned, both education and networking events. There's something for everyone. And if listeners are wanting to get plugged in, or they've been on the fence or trying to decide, do I do Dallas HR? I've got my SHRM membership. Really, I'd encourage you to have both. You need to be a SHRM member, and that's at the national level, and you get so much great content and resources. But if you are living, working, and residing, work and play, if you will, in Dallas, Collin County, here in the DFW Metroplex, you need to be plugged in, because this is where your local community is, and this is where the HR TA leaders and vendors are to help support you on your leadership journey and the things that you're trying to accomplish.
I appreciate you sharing all that, because that's one of the questions I wanted to ask was, why should people get involved? But I want to spin it just a little bit, and I want to ask you. So you talked about showing up, choosing to show up back in 2007, and then of course you came back, and of course today you're serving as president. My question for you, Callie, is how has a volunteer organization such as Dallas HR helped you grow in your leadership? What's it done for you?
It's done a lot, Bruce. This experience, it dates back to, again, early in my career, when Bronwyn said, go get plugged in, go meet people, go network.
Yeah.
And I did. And I, ripped that Band-Aid off and put myself out there and got to get to know folks and meet people and start building my network, which led to more opportunities and doors being open and being invited to do different things like moderate a panel, or, come speak on this, or come join our committee and be a part of something. And ultimately, don't we all know, we all want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves. We all, want to wake up and make an impact, right? At least I do. And so this was an opportunity for me to expand that. I was able to do it within high profile, but then to be able to take it outside and to connect with other HR leaders and professionals who have now become friends has been so, it's priceless. You just really can't put, words or, a value on that.
Yeah.
And so for me, it's just been an opportunity to really, again, grow professionally, grow personally, grow my network. And just stay connected and in tune with what's going on. And it helps with my certifications too, because I do get those CE credits. So, you can't pass that up.
You got to keep your certification up. Absolutely.
Yes.
I asked that question because there may be some people listening today is like, man, I want to get out. I want to get involved, but I'm so busy at work. I just don't have time. And I want them to hear, I want everybody to hear how, it's not about spending time outside the workplace. It's about investing in you, right?
Yes.
Investing in those relationships, and talking to people about what's going on outside the workplace to allow you to bring back ideas to your workplace, right?
Absolutely. And being in the talent acquisition and staffing space, and we talked about this earlier when you touched on, folks that get laid off and having that empathy. I
Yeah.
can I've heard numerous times in my 15 years in this space and talking with folks, and even in my personal life when folks face transition. This could be, whether it was intended transition, maybe they left an opportunity and thought grass was greener, or felt like they received a better opportunity and it wasn't, and they struggled, or situations where they were promoted and maybe they were stepping up maybe 2 levels above, and they maybe weren't as equipped or prepared as they thought, and they lack a network. They have not aligned themselves with individuals that they can tap into. They were so siloed in reporting to work each day, doing their thing, and climbing the ladder and checking the boxes, which is great. And there is a space for that. And we do need to do that and be dedicated. We're all busy. We all have things going on. We all have responsibilities, but this is carving out that time to really make a choice to say, I want to give back to others. I want to invest. And in turn, folks are going to invest back into you. Even if you don't show up with that in mind, it's going to happen naturally. Not only are you going to get from the content, and gather things from those pieces, but you're going to meet people around the table. You're going to meet people, having a glass of wine or what have you, and being able to talk through and share best practices and ideas. And it might expose you to something that you never even knew was possible.
Yeah, no, that's so good. And I will put Dallas HR website link in the show notes. So if somebody wants to learn a little bit more about Dallas HR and get involved, and of course, I'll have your contact information. They can certainly follow up with you. I love that. There's so much here. I could talk for hours and hours and hours on not just what you're doing today, but also on the volunteer leadership as well. I mean, I'm so excited to watch your journey, and you got a pretty good team around you, don't you?
Incredible team. I mean, both at high profile and then also with Dallas HR. I'm so excited. President-elect this year is Mike Pierce. And
Mike Pierce. He's going to be fantastic.
Yes, so excited. And we actually got to lead CCHR, which is Dallas HR basically in Collin County. Okay. And we did that together. He's just an incredible guy. And I'm looking forward to leading this year with him, along with all of our amazing directors and director-elects. It's going to be a great year. And one thing to mention too is when they're checking out DallasHR.org, make sure you check out our big event in February. We've got that HR Stars Gala where we're going to be recognizing HR leaders and professionals, both individual and companies, for their achievements here in the community. We'll be at the Westin Galleria on Saturday, February 19th. And there are still tickets, tables, and sponsorships available. So
I'm so glad you mentioned that. That is a great event. I think Dustin Pascal actually came up with that idea a couple of years ago. But yes, that is a wonderful event. It's an evening event, and it's all about recognition. And so I'll definitely put that in the show notes as well, Callie. Though that's fantastic. Hey, let me ask you before we shift. I mean, the time just flies. I want to ask you. Have you ever been given any advice in your career? Like it was so good, you just find yourself sharing that with others?
There's a few things. Yes, it kind of dates back to my dad. I've got a lot of his isms. In fact, I have them printed off and hanging over here. My Charlie isms, and even my colleagues laugh. They're like, "Oh, there's a Charlie-ism." But really, my dad always said this growing up, and as I've gotten older, I understand what he means by this. No real advice. I don't ever want to give advice to people. Just give suggestions. And these are just ideas and things for you to maybe consider. But a couple that come to mind are: you lose your head, you lose your behind. My dad told us that our whole lives growing up. And when we were little, he'd say, you lose your head, you lose your behind. And of course, as a kid, at least for me, I was like, what does that even mean? But now that I'm an adult and I'm a professional and I'm a mom and a wife, I understand now that when we lose our heads, you can lose your behind. You get so out of whack, and everything gets so crazy. And so to remember to keep things in perspective, keep things in focus. Remember, never forget where you came from. My dad's always said that. Don't ever forget where you came from. Remember where you started. And as a leader, that helps you to remember that we all start somewhere. And sometimes as leaders, we can have these expectations placed on people. We think we don't want to deal with having to manage people and deal with all that. I just want to be an individual contributor because it's such a hassle and a beating to help people. But remember, you got to where you're at today because of multiple people, experiences, and events. not
Mm.
by your own doing. There's only so much we can do on our own. It does take others to help us get to that next level. And so I think that's important. And then another thing too, that some coaches, and I've heard repeated and kind of in summation, is, focusing on the things we can control. As I've
Mm.
gotten older, I've recognized there's a lot less things we can control. We think we're in control, but we're really not. But there are certain things we can control. We can control our attitude. We can control how we show up, how we choose to engage in the day. We can choose joy. We can choose leadership. We can choose to listen. We can choose to serve others. That's a choice that I can control, and I can do it or not. And then when it comes to business, another one from Charlie, focus on facts, figures, formulas, and principles. He said that my whole life, and he still says it today. If I call him with an issue or event or anything, he's like, but what are the facts? Where are we at here on this? And where are what's the formula on this one? Because we got to stick to the facts, because oftentimes we can get emotional and caught up in our own heads, and we lose sight. And back to, you lose your head, you lose your behind, it just kind of all ties together.
Charlie isms. I love that. Oh my gosh. There is so much here. Here's I want to end this part right here. And I want to know, like, what drives you though? Like, what really drives you every day? I mean, you're the type of leader that wants to get better every day. I can just see it. You want to help people get better. What drives that?
What drives it truly is, I would say at the heart of it is just my faith, and just knowing who I am and whose I am, and focusing on those components. That's really what drives me. In addition to that, it's my family, my husband, my children, just a deep desire to be who all I'm called to be, and I believe I'm called to be, and to really do my very best each day, which I definitely fall short and am not perfect, but to try every day to strive to live out my life in a way where I am maximizing and doing everything I can to do the things that I believe God's called me to do, and to do it in a way that's pleasing to Him, and that's a good experience for those around me. So that's really what drives me. I mean, I think at the heart of it, it's really my faith, and then really just the opportunity to be able to make a difference and make an impact. That's really what it boils down to.
You're definitely driving in the leadership lane. You are changing lives, and you're doing it not just in the workplace, but you're doing it outside the workplace too. And I'm excited about your journey ahead. Hey, I want to shift over to the time to accelerate, is what I call it, to ask you just some fun facts as we kind of close down the interview. And the first question I always like to ask is, would you rather read a book or let's do a podcast? Because I know you do both.
I do both, and it's hard to pick, but I would say if I was choosing, it would be a podcast or an Audible book. But I do have lots of books, lots of them. One of my faves here, Life in the Leadership Lane. And I would say too, Craig Rochelle, another shout out to one of my favorite coaches, leaders, and mentors. I read last year, The Winning the War in Your Mind. We read that like 2020. And it's such an amazing book, and talking about the power of our thoughts and how they deeply they impact us.
I love that. Winning the war on your mind.
In your mind. Yep.
In your mind. Okay, good. I'll put that in the show note. That's fantastic. Hey, I want to ask you, I mentioned earlier, great leaders are grateful leaders. I could feel the gratitude when you were sharing earlier. Like, what drives that? What are you grateful for?
I would say my health and my family and the opportunity to do what I love. I think to pick one thing, it's hard to do because so many things are intertwined, but I just think, I woke up this morning, I've got breath in my lungs. I've got the opportunity to show up, and I get to make a choice to do that and how I'm going to show up. And so I'm going to choose joy. I'm going to choose to show up in my best possible way, and really just try to keep my focus on, again, the things that I can control and focus on, and helping others get to where they want to be. And that brings me a lot of joy.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I love that. Hey, I know you work a lot, and that's one thing that is definitely clear. And I can see that you're a very, very, very hard worker. You put in the time outside of volunteering for Dallas HR, outside of working at high profile. What energizes you?
Just connecting with others, my family first and foremost. I really enjoy being able to spend time and have time with my boys and my husband and my family. And really, to me, when I think about that question, it comes down to just connecting with others, and others can be those avenues of both the professional side and the personal side. So what I enjoy doing is being with others, whether it's my girlfriends and having, or being a part of a Bible study, connecting to have folks over for dinner, or meeting folks out for dinner, and just being able to talk and share and do life together. That really energizes me.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Oh man, we're down to our final question, but I got to tell you, I'm really excited about not just you leading this year, but also being part of Texas SHRM. Hopefully you get the National SHRM Conference. I think that's in New Orleans this year. So excited to watch your journey ahead. But here is the final question we have for the show today. Probably my favorite question I like to ask, and that is, Callie, 10 years older, is knocking at your door, and you are going to go answer that door. What is she going to tell you?
I think she would say, and it would probably echo a little bit of Charlie, but just to remember who you are and whose you are. The best is yet to come. I think that's what she would say.
The best is yet to come. Oh my gosh, this has been so much fun. You're definitely driving in the leadership lane. Hey, if someone wanted to connect to learn more about maybe high profile, maybe they're looking for a job, or maybe it's a company that needs some help with their candidates, or they want to know something about Dallas HR. I mean, there's a lot. How would they connect with you, Callie Miller?
Connect with me. You can connect with me personally and directly on LinkedIn. Just search Callie Miller, and I'm on there. I'd love to connect. Just reach out, send me a message, and we can connect there. You can also visit highprofilestaffing.com to learn more about high profile, the opportunities, and a sampling of the opportunities that we have available, and also to learn more about how we could help you with your staffing and recruiting needs.
I love it. I appreciate you coming on the show, sharing your wisdom. And again, excited to watch you lead Dallas HR in 2022, and appreciate your friendship. And I can't wait to share this conversation.
Thank you, Bruce. This is such an honor. Thank you for all you do for the leadership community and for inspiring and leading others so well. I appreciate so much this opportunity, and look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Awesome. Can't wait to share it. Okay. Talk to you later.